Today, we need to talk about a really truly disturbing story. It happened in Switzerland just recently in early 2024.
Yeah, a place you really don't associate with this kind of thing.
Exactly. It involves Kristina Joksimovic. You might remember her. She was a Miss Switzerland contestant back in 2007. But she wasn't just known for that. She was, a successful businesswoman too. Ran a modeling and pageant coaching school called Catwalk Coach.
Right. Seemed like she had it all figured out.
Totally. On the surface, life looked pretty perfect. Good career, husband Mark Reeve, 2 little daughters, just the whole picture.
Yeah, like you said, that's happening in Switzerland. I mean, it's known for being safe, high quality of life, low crime rates. It makes the whole thing even more unbelievable almost.
It really does, and that's why it caught so much attention. Okay, so the story really starts with Kristina's disappearance in early 2024.
Her husband, Mark, said he didn't know where she was.
Right. He claimed ignorance. But the first real sign that something was seriously wrong came on February 13th, the day before Valentine's Day. The kindergarten, where their 2 little girls went, called Kristina's father, the girl's grandfather, because neither parent had shown up to pick them up.
Wow. That's not normal.
Yeah.
For the school to have to call a grandparent usually means they couldn't reach either parent first.
Exactly. An immediate red flag. So the grandfather goes to the school, picks up the kids, right? Then he goes to their house. Mark is there.
And what did Mark say?
He apparently just said he assumed Kristina was getting them. Like, no big deal.
That sounds a bit off already.
Yeah, so the grandfather is obviously worried now. He tries calling Kristina himself. No answer, nothing.
So he goes to the police.
He does. He reports her missing. But the police, well, they initially told him about the standard 24-hour waiting period, before they could officially start looking.
Oh, that waiting period. I get it's procedure sometimes, but imagine being the family in that situation, especially with the kids involved and the weirdness at the house. Just agonizing.
Absolutely agonizing. So the next morning, Valentine's Day, of all days, Kristina's parents couldn't stand it anymore. They go over to Kristina and Mark's house.
And Mark's still there.
Still there.
Yeah.
Still saying Kristina's just missing.
Wow.
So the father, Kristina's dad, he just gets this awful feeling, a father's instinct. He starts searching the house himself, room by room.
Oh, I have a bad feeling about this.
Yeah. He ends up down in the basement, in the laundry room. And what he finds there, it's the worst possible outcome.
Okay. The laundry room. What did he see?
He found a black garbage bag. It wasn't even tied shut properly. And he could see strands of blonde hair sticking out.
Oh, God.
He opened it, and inside, it was just Kristina's head, her severed head.
Oh, my God. Just her head.
Just her head. Can you even begin to imagine a father finding his daughter like that? There are no words. It's beyond comprehension.
Unimaginable horror.
Yeah.
Just absolutely devastating. The shock, the trauma.
Completely. So he, understandably, completely panics, runs out of the house, calls the police immediately.
Of course.
And then, get this, when the police arrive and they're taking Mark away, leading him out, he supposedly turns to Kristina's parents. And he says something chilling.
What did he say?
Something like that. Like they'd stayed too long at his house? That if they'd left earlier, they wouldn't have found her body?
No. That's monstrous, the coldness of that, after what they just found.
It's incredibly disturbing. It shows a complete lack of empathy, right? And it totally undermines his whole "I don't know where she is" act from before.
Absolutely. It suggests he knew exactly what was going on. Yeah. A horrifying level of detachment.
So the investigation starts, and Mark, well, his story changes. Initially, his first explanation was that Kristina died accidentally. Fell down the stairs.
Oh, fall down the stairs.
Yeah. And he claimed he panicked afterwards and decided he had to get rid of the body.
Panicked and decided to dispose of her body. How?
His first version involved a large industrial blender. He actually claimed he'd gotten it to donate to the community or something. He sort of implied he used that to destroy her remains.
An industrial blender. That explanation. That sounds bizarre. A fatal fall leads to using an industrial blender. Highly suspicious.
Yeah, the police weren't buying it either. It just didn't hold water. So they press him, and his story shifts dramatically.
Okay, what was version 2?
Version 2 was a fight. He claimed they had a huge argument, that Kristina attacked him with scissors.
Attacked him?
That's what he claimed. And that he strangled her in self-defense.
Self-defense strangulation. Oh, yeah.
Then he admitted to dismembering her body.
He admitted it.
Admitted it. He even described the tools he used. A jigsaw, pruning shears, knives. Basically, whatever he could find to cut her body into pieces small enough
to fit into the blender he mentioned earlier?
Yeah.
Oh, that's gruesome.
Incredibly gruesome. The level of detail, the coldness of admitting to using those specific tools, it paints a truly horrific picture. And it definitely points towards trying to cover up the crime, deliberately.
It absolutely does. The planning involved in dismemberment. That's not panic. That's something else entirely.
And the forensics backed up a lot of the horror. They found Kristina's remains mostly in that industrial blender, just as he eventually said.
So the blender part was true.
It seems so. The medical examiner confirmed the cause of death was strangulation, so that part of his second story lined up.
But it sounds like there's a but.
There is a big one. The autopsy found evidence of significant blunt force trauma before she died.
Before strangulation.
Yes. Bruises on her face, under her eyebrow, her nose, multiple bruises on her lower right leg, her ankle, her shoulder blade, even the back of her head.
So she was beaten before she was strangled. That doesn't sound like simple self-defense during a brief struggle. That sounds like a sustained assault.
Exactly. It directly contradicts his self-defense claim. It points to a violent attack before the strangulation.
What else did they find?
It gets worse. Investigators found patches of her hair had been forcibly torn out from her scalp.
Oh, that's brutal.
And the details of the dismemberment, just chilling. They believe her hip joints were likely broken to make it easier. Limbs severed. And this is particularly disturbing. Her uterus had been removed.
Her uterus. Why? That's very specific. And deeply unsettling. Was there any reason given?
Not clearly stated in reports, but it adds another layer of just horror and calculation to the whole thing. Plus, they found her phone later, hidden away in a delivery van, clearly trying to hide evidence.
Trying to cover his tracks.
And maybe the most chilling detail of all, while he was waiting for the blender to, do its work on Kristina's remains.
Yes.
His phone records showed he was watching YouTube videos.
He was watching YouTube.
Oh.
While that was happening.
Yeah, just casually watching YouTube. The detachment, the absolute lack of remorse, or even basic human feeling. It's hard to fathom.
That speaks volumes about his state of mind. A profound disconnect from reality and from the horrific act he was committing. Chilling doesn't even begin to cover it.
So, putting it all together, the pre-death injuries, the deliberate dismemberment, hiding the phone, the YouTube watching, the removed organ beliving. The police concluded this wasn't some crime of passion or self-defense gone wrong.
No, it sounds premeditated. Planned.
Exactly. They believe it was a premeditated murder. Brutal and planned out.
The evidence seems overwhelmingly to point in that direction. The initial story, the shift, the physical evidence, it all builds a picture of calculation, not panic.
Now, initially, you didn't hear a ton about this in Switzerland itself. They have strict privacy laws,
Right. They often use initials or pseudonyms.
Yeah, Kristina was often just KJ. Mark was called Thomas in some early reports. But the story really blew up internationally around September 2024.
What happened then?
Mark applied for early release from custody.
Seriously? After all that?
Apparently. The court denied it, thankfully. But that application, combined with Kristina's identity becoming public knowledge and all the gruesome details leaking out, it just exploded.
I can imagine. Public outrage must have been immense.
Huge. And fear, too. People were worried that because Mark came from a wealthy, influential family, he might somehow get away with it or get a lighter sentence.
That's a common fear in cases involving powerful families.
Yeah. And you had former colleagues of Kristina's, other pageant figures like Rina Surin, Krista Rigozzi, Leticia Guarino, issuing statements. Shock, grief, just heartbroken.
Understandable. People who knew her from that world must have been horrified.
Even neighbors spoke out. Just total shock and disbelief. They said the couple always seemed so normal, happy even.
It really highlights that contrast, doesn't it? The perfect facade versus the nightmare happening behind closed doors. It's terrifying how well someone can hide their true nature.
And as the story unfolded, more details about their relationship started coming out. Disturbing details.
Like what?
Well, a former girlfriend of Mark's came forward. She described a history of abuse, volatile temper, physical violence, emotional instability.
So this wasn't new behavior for him. There was a pattern.
Exactly. It suggests the violence towards Kristina wasn't an isolated incident, but part of a larger pattern of abusive behavior.
That's significant. It provides crucial context.
Then there was testimony from one of Kristina's close friends. Anonymously, but very detailed. She painted a very different picture of the marriage than the public one.
What did the friend say?
She said Mark became controlling, emotionally abusive, especially after their first child was born around 2020.
Common time for abusive dynamics to escalate.
Apparently, he also resented Kristina's background. She was Serbian and treated her like she was inferior. Just awful stuff.
Controlling and demeaning behavior. Classic signs.
And the friend revealed something really chilling. Back in July 2023, so months before the murder, Kristina had actually called the police on Mark.
Why? What happened?
Because he was strangling her.
He strangled her before, and she called the police.
Yes. But she later withdrew the complaint.
Why would she do that?
The friend said it was because he apologized profusely, but also made threats. That cycle of abuse, fear, manipulation, apologies, threats. It traps people.
That previous incident is a massive red flag.
Yeah.
A prior strangulation attempt. The statistics show that's a huge predictor of future homicide and domestic violence cases.
It's terrifying. The friend also said Kristina had decided she wanted a divorce. She was planning to leave him.
Okay.
But she was scared. Scared of Mark and scared of his family's influence, their money.
Understandable given his behavior and potential resources.
And the friend. Well, she believes Mark killed Kristina because he found out she was planning to divorce him. He couldn't stand losing control.
That motive, loss of control, is tragically common in these situations. When the abuser realizes the victim is leaving, they resort to the ultimate act of violence to maintain power.
It just paints such a grim, heartbreaking picture of what Kristina was likely going through in the months leading up to her death. Abuse, control, fear, ending in the most horrific way imaginable.
Absolutely tragic. A relationship defined by hidden terror.
So, where does the case stand now? Mark is still in custody. All his requests for release have been denied, which is something.
Good. And the legal process?
It's ongoing. There's talk his defense might try a diminished responsibility claim, but we'll see how that plays out.
Okay.
And then there's the children, their two little daughters. There's a custody battle happening right now.
Oh, those poor kids. Who is fighting for custody?
Kristina's parents, her mom and dad, and Mark's sister.
His sister. So the family of the man accused of murdering their mother.
Yes, and apparently some analysts think Mark's family might actually have an edge in the custody fight because of their resources and standing.
That's deeply concerning. You'd hope the children's safety and well-being would be the absolute priority, far above family influence. Placing them with the family of the alleged perpetrator seems fraught with potential issues.
It does. It's another really difficult layer to this already horrific situation. The trauma those kids have been through.
Yeah.
And their future is still so uncertain.
The legal battles, both for him and for the children, are going to be incredibly complex and, no doubt, very painful for everyone involved except, perhaps, him.
This whole case is it's a stark, brutal reminder, isn't it? That sometimes the most terrible violence can be hidden behind lives that look perfect from the outside.
It really is. It challenges our assumptions about safety and normalcy.
The legal proceedings are continuing. The custody fight is ongoing. It's a story many people are watching very closely, waiting for some kind of justice for Kristina and some kind of stable future for her daughters.
A truly sobering story that stays with you. The potential for such darkness, even in places we think of as serene.
It really makes you think about the hidden realities people might be facing, even people you think you know. Thank you for joining us as we recounted this deeply disturbing story today.
Thank you.
If you found this account, if you want to follow more stories like this, please consider liking this video, sharing it, and subscribing to our channel, Horror Docs. We appreciate your support.